Alright, welcome back. So today we're going to start a new series based on Azure DevOps, and we're going to start with options available to you under the repositories tab. So before we go into the technical, let's just have a brief overview of what to expect. And just as always, important timestamps will be found in the video description and most likely also the pinned comment. So we're going to cover a couple of things here. We're going to focus specifically on branch policies on the repositories. And first, we're going to show you how to navigate the branch policies. Second, we're going to dive deeper in and show you some of the options. So you'll see that some of the options you have are code review options, work item options, comment resolution options, merge type options, and build validations, and finally, auto-included code reviewer. So if you don't know what any of this means right off the bat, don't worry, we're going to dive into it. So just stick around. So just in case, we're going to start at the very top. Here we have the Azure Dev org and a project inside of it. We're going to go straight to repositories. If you hover over it, you'll see a couple options show up. You can click on branches here, and you'll see the two branches that we have. In case you're not familiar with it, this may only show the two branches that, or the branches that are available to you. As you can see, it's under mine. If you select all, if there were other teammates, you'd see more branches. I'll go more into this in another video if required. But what we want to focus on right now is how to get the branch policies. So there's two ways to get it there. Initially, there's only one way. At the very beginning, you'll see something like this. Let's see dev branch. You see that there's no option here, while over here, you see a little ribbon here, and it says master has branch policies. One way is to actually click on this, or in this case, open a new tab, and you see branch policies are opened up. However, this icon only shows up once you've created branch policies. So the very first time around, you won't have this. So what you'll want to do is you want to hover over the branch that you want to create branch policies for. Go over to the vertical triple ellipses. You'll see new options pop up, and you can click on branch policies. And that's the other way to navigate. One more thing I want to note before we move on is that you can see that once you're inside the options for branch policies, you'll see that you can also navigate over here to other branches that have branch policies. And one last thing before we move on, as long as you have any of these branch policies enabled, it will lock that branch. So you can't check into that branch directly unless you make a pull request, which is essentially what all of these policies are trying to control. What conditions need to be met in order for you to be able to have a successful pull request? Okay, so that being said, let's move on to our first item, which is code reviews, which we can handle right here. Require minimum number of reviewers. If you enable this, you'll see a couple options pop up. First and foremost, minimum number of reviewers. You can control this. By default, they give 2. You can make it 1. In this case, I'm going to make it 1 since I'm going to be the only one to approve it for this example video. Another thing I'm going to enable is allow requesters to approve their own changes since I'm the only one available here. Definitely don't want this, but you have the option to prohibit the most recent pusher from approving their own changes. You also have the option to allow completion even if some reviewers vote to wait or reject. And finally, when new changes are pushed, if you click on this, you'll see a couple other options pop up after that. First is reset all approvals, which does not reset votes to reject or wait, or reset all code reviewer votes. And this is all based on the way that you want to build your branch policy. You can have all of them or none of them enabled. Okay, before we move on to linked work items, I want everyone to know that if you want to, you can skip to the part of the video by looking at timestamps where I show you what it looks like to have all of these enabled and what it actually means during the pull request process. So now we can move on to check for linked work items. In case you're not familiar with what work items are, I can make another video for that. But right now, the quick overview is essentially a task for this project. How you can get to that, I'll show you in this tab. You can go over to this over here, this green icon where it says boards, work items, and you can see I already have an example work item here available. It's essentially, for planning, you see that you have the ability to set priority, whatnot, description, whatever. That's for another video altogether. The point is you can have a work item tied to your pull request and your branch. Whenever you want a pull request to be made with your branch, you have to link a work item. So let's turn that off and we turn on this option. As simple as this. And it's very straightforward. You just have the option where it's required or if it's optional. So now we can briefly go over what it actually looks like to have check for linked work items as well as code reviewers. So for the sake of this video, since I'm the only one approving, we'll have minimum number of reviewers to be 1, and we'll also allow requesters to approve their own changes. And we can also see what it looks like for when new changes are pushed to have these options available. So once that's done, we can actually go ahead and create a brand new pull request. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to repos, we're going to go to branches, and we're going to go to the dev branch and click on the vertical ellipses, click on new branch, and we're going to call something called a test branch. So right over here, you also see the option to link work items here, so they're very crucial. If you choose to use them, I would, if it's our actual organization. That being said, we're going to go to here, that get ignored, and we're just going to add another comment so that there is a change that we can actually have to be able to make a pull request from test to dev. So next we go to pull request. You see we have no pull requests that are active at the moment, so we'll click on new pull request. So right off the bat, let's see here. Let's change it from going test to dev, and right off the bat you see a couple options available to you, as well as giving it a title, description. But what I want to focus on is over here. You have the ability to add required reviewers. You can add work item links. You can also have tags over here. But for this example, we're just going to have the default. So we're going to click create. And there's two things that I want to bring your attention to immediately. First and foremost is that you can't even progress because we didn't link a work item. And over here, we said that we would, as it's required. The other thing is letting you know that we need at least one person to approve in order for this pull request to go through. And if you actually want to see what changes are involved with the pull request, you can simply just navigate the files over here, and we see that we added an extra comment. In addition, we also see that you have the option to click on updates in the likely event that you'd actually have more commits than just this one. And you can also see the commits themselves over here. So now let's do what's necessary in order for us to be able to make an actual pull request with the given settings here that we have a code reviewer and a worked item linked. So first things first, you can click on view check. Yes, there's nothing there. If you navigate to the right over here, it gives you a couple options. So first thing we're going to do, go over work items. Most likely you'd have hundreds or at least dozens. In this case, we only have the one. And now it says that yes, required check has succeeded. So the next thing in order for us to be able to approve, or complete, is we need a code reviewer. So before I even go on there, I realized I should show you some of the options. We have the options to abandon it, which is essentially deleting it, mark as a draft, set as autocomplete. This will do exactly what it sounds like. Once all the conditions are checked and finished, it's got the green light to actually go, it'll just complete it on its own. It's very useful if you want some autonomy. And finally, the manual option to just complete it yourself once everything is checks out, green light. So the only other thing here is we see a couple options here for approve. We see approve with suggestions, wait for author, reject, and reset feedback. In this case, we're just going to approve it, and we'll see we've got all the green lights, and this option has already changed to complete. So the option to set autocomplete is done because it's like, hey, we're good to go and you're right here. So we can actually hit complete. It will change the, it'll actually merge to the dev branch. And here we also see some options where you could delete a test branch afterwards, um, as well as, complete the associated work items. You can also add, customized commit message for it. Hit complete merge. Boom, we're done. It's going to be finishing up. If we go back to branches, we're back down to 2. We go to dev branch, we check on history, we see that it's been merged from test. Okay, so let's continue down the list now that we have code review and linked worked items completed. So it's as simple as toggling it on, and just like linked worked items, we have the option to make it required or optional. Alright, so next we can move on to limit merge types. This is exactly what it sounds like, it's pretty straightforward. It allows you to control what type of mergers are going to occur during the pull request. We have basic merge, rebase fast forward squash merge, and rebase for merge commit. So moving on, we have one of the more interesting features, which is the build validation. It's exactly what it sounds like. You can tie a CI build to the pull request. As you can see, if you click on the plus sign, you see a couple options show up. First and foremost, you can choose the build. In this case, I only have the one example build. You can even filter for path. This is useful if you have multiple projects, and this pull request, only pertains to one of those many. And other than that, you also see triggers, policy requirements, and build expiration and display name. So for this, I'm just going to keep it as a default, and then we can move on to an example with build validation. So for the case of the example, just to make it simple, I'm going to turn off these other ones that we already covered. I'm not going to cover check for comment resolution and limit merge size because they're pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. Okay, so let's go to this tab. We'll go to branches, we'll go to dev, triple ellipses new branch. We'll call it test 2. Let's go over here. Let's go to .get ignored. Let's add another comment. So we have some change to reflect. Commit it. And if you go to pull request, we'll do a new pull request, test2 to dev. We'll leave the defaults as is. And you'll see right off the bat that the build that we tied is being queued. The option to set autocomplete's there. If you were to try to hit complete, it will give you a build queued and it's not completed error, so you can't complete the merge yet. And in this case, it doesn't really matter if we approve, because if you look over here, we turned off the minimum number of approvers. So once that's done, I'll just say set autocomplete so you can see for yourself. Let's open this build in a new tab. We see that it's running. Okay, it's building the project, so we can wait it out. I think it's just about done. Okay. Okay, so you see that as soon as the build finished, it actually completed the merge. It's already deleted the branch that it pulled from as requested. So if we go back to branches, we're back down to 2, and we have that change updated inside the history. So before I get to automatically included reviewers, there's a newer or a relatively newer feature called status checks that's been added. Essentially, here you can add a new status check and you go to advanced. You see a couple options here. Essentially, it's allowing external services to be associated with your pull request as well. So you could add any number of, additional external services here and set their conditions here as well. Pretty straightforward. So we actually have some documentation from Microsoft. Essentially, it's saying external services can use pull request status API to post details statuses to your pull request. They go a little bit deeper if required. So if you want to implement this in your branch policy as well, you can certainly do so. And I'll share this link inside the video description so you can give it a good read for yourself as well. So lastly, we come to automatically included reviewers. So if you click on the plus sign here, you can add people inside your organization. You can also toggle to make it optional or required. You can even have it so that it's filtering just for certain folders within your project. Um, so essentially, let's turn this on. We will add myself, and let's go ahead and edit this. So, okay, I can request and approve my own changes. Okay, so we'll toggle this off, and we should be good to make another edit. So we'll go over here. We'll go to branches one more time. Go to dev, new branch, test. Go to .get ignore. We'll edit this, add yet another comment. Then we'll go to pull request, new pull request, test into dev. We'll keep the defaults. And you see that it says, instead of saying one reviewer or the minimum number of reviewers must approve, it's saying that I have to approve this since I'm a included reviewer. And you can see this reflected on the side over here where it says required reviewers. So if I hit approve, I'm good to go and I can complete the merge. And there you go, completed pull request. Go back to branches, back down to 2. So there you have it. That's pretty much everything that we need to know about branch policies and their effect with pull requests. We went over the code review options, work item, comment resolution, merge type, build validations, status checks, and auto-included code reviewers. Alright, so thanks for watching, and stick around for more videos pertaining to Azure DevOps, and if you have any requests, please leave a comment below, and I'll try to cover it in the next one. Have a good one, guys.